Welcome back to the Power Breakfast Show. My name is Wahiga Mora. We carry on with the broadcast now. Time for the paper review, and to help us take a look at some of the big stories this morning on this 30th day of November 2017. Of course, it's a Thursday. Dr. Japhet Kalui, former presidential candidate on an independent ticket. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Really glad to have you here. A bit later on in the program, Nakia White, co-founder, Global Ladder Africa, and a political strategist will be joining us. But for now, Dr. glad that you've found time to be here with us. First things first, I think the last time I saw you on TV was round about October 26th. What have you been up to for the last month or so?
We have done quite a lot, and thank you for having me in the show, Mr. Mwaura, and Kenyans for allowing us in your living rooms and listening to us, in spite of the fact that we were new in the politics. After 26th, we did more than just sitting around and waiting for the inauguration. I personally, I took a trip, a thank you trip, back into my primary school area, my home base where I was born, and the mission was to put people together to decide the future, putting the communities in one, because risks were there for civil unrest, and bells were ringing for some violence. So we went and sat down, decided the way forward in Katulani Primary School, and I thank them wherever they are, if they are watching. And that's what we have been doing the actual work instead of talking theoretically and giving ideas that never realized. Just Kenya is not short of ideas. What they need is action. We went for the action. We put the community together. They are sealed. They are not going to fight or die for a politician. You did what you can. Let's take a look at how the dailies have captured the big stories, and I want to get your take on a story that's captured in both front pages. We can start with the Daily Nation. Revealed likely shape of Uhuru's new cabinet, and that will be coming up on the screen shortly. Politicians are holding their breath for sports. I don't know if you're part of this team here. At the high table, in a highly anticipated shake-up of government, we've got pictures there of Rafael Tuju, former Meru Governor Peter Munya, Hassan Omar, former Mombasa Senator, Babu Namwamba, a former Budalangi Member of Parliament, among others. And if you want to get the main story, you need to turn to page 4. And Dr. Kalui, let me just briefly summarize what they're talking about here before I come to you. President Uhuru Kenyatta, his deputy, are expected to bring more politicians into the cabinet. In more changes, major changes actually, insiders say are about to be unveiled. In 2013, the two wanted a cabinet of technocrats, and have said that the only politicians in it would be the two of them. But political realities and the failure of CSs and PSs to adequately explain to the public the projects their ministries were implementing have forced a rethink. Do you agree with that logic? I absolutely do. Because where we are in Kenya, we are at crossroads. First of all, because of the we have had the longest political season in the history of Kenya. So a lot of things happened. Hotels were operating at 8% capacity. The economy was going down. The youth and everyone else had no jobs, and businesses were not really operating. There's actually a place between August 8 and now that really businesses were not even operating. People were just doing politics and just not generating money. And tourists were not coming to the country, because who wants to come in a risky country? I agree. There were, things that were raised about the performance of the cabinet secretaries. So I would ask the President Kenyatta to look at the performance. Should be his legacy. First, to speed up the economy. Just because we were behind and we fell behind, Kenya, like our marathoners, have taught us a lesson. You can always come from behind and zoom. We own the finish line. So he has nothing to worry if he has the right team. The issue is having the right team. Technocrats, people who speed Kenya forward and bring it to the world map. But what we're seeing here is that we're going to see fewer technocrats and more politicians, which is why I asked you, do you think that's the way to go? The reason why in 2013 they were so quick to pick on technocrats was because Kenyans were saying, listen, we're tired of politicians or politicians masquerading as CSs. We want to see a difference, but it looks like we're going back. It is not mutually exclusive. You can be a technocrat and a politician. I would say that I'm a Wall Street person, which is 6 years Wall Street. I am a university dean, a professor, an author, a TV show and radio host in Washington.
TV show and radio host?
I have done that, sir. I do that.
And a politician, right?
Absolutely. So it's not mutually exclusive. We can have those people both, and they have done, they can be able to do that. Look at Amina Mohammed, she has performed very well, and she was in Switzerland. I mean, she was in, a technocrat, and she's also in the political scene. So you can have those happening, and they are not missing in Kenya. They are available. Not that I'm trying to advance myself, but I was just giving myself an example. I have to keep taking you here. You told Francis Gashuri, I think immediately after the October 26th election, that if things went your way, you'd be eating boozy in State House.
if you had gotten that post, how would you, Daktari, have selected your cabinet? What considerations would you be taking into account right now?
First, we would eat several mbuzis in the State House, and I did not even know that would get out. But I was just making a joke. But I wish I was going to have a new residence after that. But I would have looked at people with actual knowledge. There are areas that you need actual knowledge. Let's say the Department of Health.
Let's talk examples.
Department of Health.
Health, okay.
Cabinet Secretary of Education. We need to make sure that people in Department of Health, Foreign Affairs, which is really well run, I would think so, and I know what she has been doing as a diaspora, I know. And there are other areas, there are political positions that some are there that, you need to work with politicians in a political sense, particularly in devolution. It's very political. Those ones you have to have someone with expertise, not only with financial and other accounting and understanding of communities, socio-economic, political and environmental, understanding the way really government works and finances in terms of money and audit, because, counties are known to misappropriate money, where they can take over. We'd like to see that for the first time to be done. If someone misappropriates money, contracts are given incorrectly, it is taken over by the federal government because it is allowed in the Constitution, and then they show an example. You cannot misappropriate somebody's money. So some of these things are very technical. When I talk of health, it's because my PhD is in health policy and research. So I know unless you understand certain things and if you are totally briefed, it will take you a long training curve. But you need people who are hitting the ground running, helping the president to bring this country forward, because we have so much potential, one of the highest economy in Africa. So if we can be able at least to bring the country up and put it in the map, a gateway to Africa.
Let me take you to page, did I see that question in the Nation or the Standard? Once I find that out, but I can basically ask you the question.
Yeah, sure.
There are some readers of the paper who've written in and said, on one hand, some say the president should consider appointing one or two people to the cabinet from the opposition. But then the others who say no, leave the opposition as it is, let them do their work, which is keeping the government in check. Do not attempt to, quote-unquote, scatter the opposition by picking one or two, maybe generals from the opposition.
I think where the country is, Mr. Mwaura, where the country is, it is reasonable to have, let's say one, and I would say that as a standard, because I've seen like in other countries, let's say United States of America, where you have one person from the opposition. When it is,
a key figure.
Yeah, a key figure. When it's too many, it becomes politics. Let's get to know the straight way politics works, because Jubilee has formed a government. They had an agenda. They need to further that agenda. So they can include a person from the opposite side who can be able to talk government, the current government, to the opposition. They don't want to feel left behind. And then
serve as an intermediary.
Yes, because Kenyans were explained the agenda for Jubilee. They latched into it. They chose the president. I know there are, people who feel otherwise, but you know what? So democracy is very noisy. We are exactly doing democracy the way it was intended to do, being very noisy. It's not the most efficient. It is very noisy, but that's the best we have at the moment. So we can have one cabinet, not necessarily cabinet secretary, but a position that is for the opposition. But what is opposition? We had 8 candidates. Were we in opposition?
Ekuro Court stated that he considers the official opposition. I don't know if you also.
There's competing factors.
Are you part of that narrative?
No, there's competing of theoretical and actual, because you need to have members. You need to have members in the parliament to be actually effective. Or theoretically, we can go to the media and talk. So who actually affects? When you go to the parliament, they're the people who have a lot of effectiveness. I think he wants to guide the country. He has been active. He's my friend. So I would like to see him continue, not just because he has a position, but opposition doesn't have to be formal. It can be informal, because most people who are directing the government, who are helping the government, or checking the government, you can say they are opposition. So he still has a part as a former presidential candidate to do opposition.
No matter how large.
Yes, to be informally or formally. But formally, you really need members in the parliament to influence policy.
You spent a considerable time in the United States. What lessons can Kenya's, not necessarily Kenya's government per se, but Kenyans learn in terms of how public service is selected and kept in check from a few things that you saw when you were in the States?
So we need to inject values. first we need to be able to say, and I was accused at one point that I conceded too quickly. I'm sure you know.
I think I was there when you did at the Bomas of Kenya.
But you know, Mr. Mwaura, conceding is actually leadership. When I conceded, every other person across the country, MPs, they started looking at it as if it's fun. They were conceding left, right, and center. I remember who conceded first. Because sometimes when you realize that it can't work, then you need to, for the sake of the country. I was being told, Kangumu, just stay there, don't move. But there was no reason for me not to move. I needed to think country bigger than me. So values of conceding, you need to be able to have values. There's a lot of corruption in terms of even the politics, in terms of people who won't do anything unless they are paid. And it is both sides, both politicians and also the communities. They have been told, unless we give you money. And then the people with the big money, they always can be able to pay them, and then the politicians of less money, then they're disadvantaged. But I can say that's not always the case, because Mutiora and I, we were able to, win the hearts and minds of Kenyans. We were not the last. In fact, we improved our rankings. We were speeding up. If we moved this one like 5-6 months later, the story would be different. The story would be different, Mr. Mwaura.
Let's talk scenarios.
Yes, sir.
And we need to get back to the papers, but nevertheless, today at lunchtime you get a call from State House.
Yes.
Come, we need to talk. We have a position for you. Will you go?
As a Kenyan citizen, I would think when you are called to history to lead, you should be surrendering your will to lead, to serve the people of Kenya. If I'm called to serve the people of Kenya, that's what I was trying to do.
But then are you really opposition?
No,
you do not consider yourself at all, in terms of having lost, in terms of keeping government in check, you don't think that's your role? Let others do it. You see this as a more noble venture? Should that all come through?
Depending on the definition, but we have considered ourselves as the people who checked the government, and we congratulated the government where things went right, and we actually opposed where things needed to be redirected. So I would continue to congratulate. In fact, as you asked earlier, that what lessons can we learn from other countries? When things are right, you should not be afraid to tell President Kenyatta, congratulations, you did this thing correctly. And when things go wrong, Mr. President, please, we need to recheck this, reconsider, and give suggestions. Don't just be opposing and say there is no solution. The opposition without a suggestion opposition is an opposition that does not function efficiently. That is one thing. Oppositions usually congratulate, redirect, and encourage and discourage. So here, when you're in opposition, you are supposed to say everything is no. That was very strange for me. I mean, when I congratulated the president when he did something right or he said something right, I was told, why are you congratulating the president? You're supposed to be running against him. Can't he do something right? When I congratulated NASA leader Raila because he fought for multi-party system and he spent 8 years in jail or something like that, because of him, we ran for presidency, I was told, you're not supposed to be talking about Raila. But no,
we're supposed to just focus on your own agenda.
When you do right things in Kenya, that's something lesson needs to be taught, that you should be able to say what is right, and that gives you integrity. I said that in a straight face, and today, after a long while, I think that they have proved me right, that it brings communities together.
Okay.
If we'll feel part of
it. Fair enough. Let me take you to page 5 of the Daily Nation and get your thoughts. Britain, the United States, Lord Uhuru.
Yes.
But in addition, urge for talks. Let me just briefly touch on what they're talking about. Britain and US have called for reconciliation and dialogue as they congratulated President Uhuru Kenyatta for his re-election and inauguration for a second term. They have also expressed concerns, especially the US, over police brutality. The two countries are the main Western powers, and their message of congratulations to President Kenyatta would be deemed important as they indicate official recognition.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about police brutality.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if you've had a chance to comment on this.
Yes.
We've seen what happened on Tuesday, rather,
yes.
in a pipeline estate.
Yes.
We've seen what's been happening before. I want to get your thoughts now on a discussion that is really, tarnishing the image of the Kenyan police.
Yes. So let's say, first I want to say that there are things that were done in the beginning wrong, and there are things that have been done right. And let me begin by lauding, because I have been part of security where I needed to be secured, and I have seen, I've been on the ground. I think the games people on the, in the parties are playing, particularly political leaders, in terms of police brutality, they are not right. And
what do you mean by claims?
Yeah, what I say is that they report of what is happening. If the police tells you, do not go someplace, we are a country of laws. There are processes to prosecute your case in terms of what is required. For example, if they tell you don't go to a particular field, do not, for example, I was coming the same day as my colleague, Rahila, was coming to the country. Actually, we were supposed to pay out to share a presidential, one of those VIP areas in the airport. The same time we were coming. But then I could not even get out of the airport. It was okay if the crowd is huge, but why stone people's cars?
Okay,
why the police had to be
with all due respect, and we can look at page 2 of the Daily Nation. This schoolboy, 7 years old.
Yes.
He wasn't at the airport. He wasn't on the streets. He was playing in his house. I don't know how. Maybe
the police
about other people. I am now referencing page 2 of the
police have said they did not shoot the boy. I think it should probably say that. So they said they did not shoot the boy.
But residents say, and the quote is here, there's an officer they know, an administration policeman. He's known around Eastlands where he regularly conducts security patrols. The big question is government under pressure to arrest policeman, have him charged in a court of law, let witnesses come, etc. Is that not the right step?
That would be the right step after investigation. Everything that happens. If I saw a report, a similar report, that a lady was raped, they investigate. Whoever did that, they go to jail. And there were people on the Mombasa Road during that airport time. If this policeman, he actually shot, and they are saying he did not shoot, we need eyewitness. We need the investigation to be done. What if you arrest someone and it turns out that he wasn't the right person? Or it could have been a game played by the same people. Politics sometimes can get a little dirty. When I say that as a former presidential candidate, I have seen it all. So we want to investigate, give the government the opportunity to see what was right, to eyewitnesses, prosecute the case. If the police shot the boy without due cause, but the boy, what was he doing? Or it's a stray bullet, someone was being shot. There is so many scenarios. Then the person should be arrested, should be brought to the police to the law courts and maybe sentenced, and be a deterrent to any police brutality in future. But should it be not the case, then we shouldn't take police officers in court when they haven't done anything.
I know you said that you have had some security background. I don't know how far or how expensive that has been. Do police need reforms in terms of how they handle crowds? Could things have been different this year if police took a different approach? A lot of people online asking, rubber bullets, what happened to them, for example?
And I say yes. I would say yes. I'm a person who speaks straight, not because people want what they want or what they would like to see or to hear. But yes, we'd like to see more training, because what I have seen before is cases where police are being accused of something, but they do not have their own tape. So 2-3 police officers say 2-3 different things. Now you see, Mr. Mwaura, that from an actual source is not fair. So if they track their own actions, and that should be the official action, then official record, that should be what it is. So there should be training, how to stop someone, whether they need to shoot in the air. There are specific trainings. Things should be done before actual force, and how much force excessively should be actually put through. So sometimes we have seen cases where we hear somebody was just shot. That does not mean everything is bad with the government. That means we need more training, and I'm sure we can have, with the new cabinet and with the new government and the legacy, the president should be able to look into that to make sure police has proper training, if they have its own record, processes of handling crowd control, and to make sure that communities do not feel harmed, particularly in certain areas, and also how to hire police in certain areas, how to distribute police who handle certain areas and their expertise. May it be Kisumu, Mathare, may it be in Huruma, Kileleshwa, everybody needs, needs some security, but there is a logic to the madness.
There's a logic to the madness. We'll shortly be taking a quick break. After the declaration of President Donald Trump, American President Donald Trump, we did see, and I know you've been asked, you possibly have been asked this a couple of times, we did see protests across the U.S. in major cities, which were largely peaceful. But we also know that on the other hand, there have been protests, especially when it comes to cases or situations like Black Lives Matter, which have turned chaotic. What do you think are some of the key contributors to a scenario where you can have largely peaceful protests like what we have seen in the States, where a large group of people gather in one location, but somehow the situation doesn't get out of hand.
Yes, because some of these things, you see, it is orchestrated by some of our leaders. Leaders are very responsible, political leaders, because they are followers, and people listen when they speak. So we want politicians to take real responsibility on the ground for the sake of the nation. You can't call for violence. If you call for violence and the other group calls for violence, there's going to likely to be a clash. So that is the number one. Also, people need to be able to understand that when they clash, they are the ones to lose. But don't forget there are other factors that are contributing because they are external in terms of poverty. We need to reignite the economy, because when you have property, Mr. Mwaura, to protect, you're not likely to destroy someone else's, because you live in a glass house. They will throw stones in your house. So when the economy is ignited, people are working, and there is hope, then these things are less, and they can be easily be controlled. So to compare Kenya and the United States, where there is work, the unemployment rate is like 5%, here it's like really 40-something percent.
47%, that's correct.
Yeah, so we need to find what are the real causes. These are symptoms. Young men being used to run battles on the streets, and I really reject and denounce where leaders use young men to do bad things.
On that note,
country.
Dr. we take a quick break. You've been watching a newspaper review with a difference. Dr. Japhet Kaluyu joins us today just to talk about some of the big stories of the day. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at the counties. He spoke about a lot of theft at the county level, and for county governments, they are now past the 100 days. A lot of promises that they made, but people are saying we're not seeing the fulfillment of those promises, whether from Nairobi to Mombasa, and we'll be taking a look at that and so much more. Nakia White will also be joining us. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show live on Citizen TV. We'll be right back.